How was your childhood living in Denver?
My childhood living here in Denver was pretty good. I can't complain one bit. Uh, I mean, I'm not going to say I had hard times, but we didn't have hard times as a family. I mean, mom and dad worked, both worked and did whatever they can for me and my brother to have whatever we could get, whatever we can beg for. But I would say my childhood growing up here in Denver was pretty good. I can't complain one bit.
Okay. Can you tell me about the relationship you had with your brother?
Me and my brother have a really good relationship. Sometimes we have this game. Well, he likes. It's not a game, but he likes to sometimes act like he's the oldest. But no, we have a good relationship. I mean, one thing about me and my brother, we learned early that it's him and I in this world. I mean, when we go home from our friends, we all we have. So that was one thing our mom instilled in us, that me and him have each other. So, we have that mentality with each other, even though we might get into some rough discussions about things, but now we have a really good relationship.
Great, great. Tell me about your experience as an athlete in college and high school.
Um, I would say my high school career for football and most of my sports, I would say, um, it was really good. I was a top athlete in most of them. I wasn't in the top 10 or anything like that, but I was a pretty good athlete. I played football, wrestled, and a little baseball in high school. And then college, I ended up just playing football, and I had a really good career in college. So um, my college career was really good.
Do you see a difference in the black community from when you were in high school till now?
Um, in my neighborhood, it is a little different, but all the same. I mean, most of the older people have kind of passed on. So most of the times, the neighborhood, it grows. It just grows on. So you really have to take it for what it's worth. Um, most of the black barbershops down in that neighborhood, since a lot of people are moving out that neighborhood, it's hard for them to go to those local barbershops. But lots of people drive there. They come back down to the neighborhood to go and patronize some of them barbershops there in that community.
Okay. Have you lived in Denver your entire life?
Yeah, yeah.
What made you become a barber? And was it hard to learn how to cut hair as well?
Well, what made me think about being a barber was when I as I was playing football and when the season was over and I was coming back home, instead of trying to find a job, my mom sat me down and suggested that, um, why don't you go and get your barber's license, so then you basically work for yourself, or you could make your own money and don't have to look for a job as much as I'm not saying I looked for a job every time I came home. I was real lucky. I had a job I could come back to, but being a barber made it a lot easier to come back home after the football season was over, to just jump right back into the flow of working.
What do you feel is the most important role in being a barber?
I think one good role that a barber brings to the community is you connect with a lot of people. Uh, you're almost like a psychologist. You're almost like a doctor sometimes, but you're a friend. You're a friend that when a person comes and sits in the chair, you have your conversations and you could talk about as much stuff as you can, personal things sometime, and just joking and uh, stuff like that. But most of the time, a barbershop is where you can come in and relax and let things flow. You can get loud, you can be quiet, you can, you know, a lot of things happen. But I think a barbershop and a barber is good for a community because it takes you back in the day where when you went to those barbershops, you caught up on a lot of the information that's in the town or in the city or in your area. So
How is a barbershop, a smaller barbershop like this, different from other franchises?
it's the personalization that you get with your local barbershops. I have nothing wrong against those chains, but to me, you might have one or two people in that chain shop that's got some personalization with their customers that those customers come back to see them. I think the old-fashioned barbershop is built on that, so you get that on a constant uh, basis and more relationship based with a lot of your customers. So I don't I don't think it's a big deal, but I would prefer the local barbershop more than the chains.
How long have you been a barber?
Wow, I'm gonna mess up this guess, but it's been probably about 20 years.
When did you decide to first open your own shop?
Well, I had been working in a barbershop for maybe 6, 7 years before I decided. And one of the mentors that I had that's helped me, his name is Billy Jackson. He had his barbershop, and I kind of sat down with him and asked him if he could show me some of the ropes and the ways of running a barbershop. And about maybe 2 years after that, I decided to open up a shop.
Is it hard to find good barbers?
It's really hard. It's very hard to find barbers that are dedicated into building a business. And the one thing about building a business in this business is you have to go out. You gotta hit the pavement. You gotta get customers to come in. You gotta build a relationship with them. And I think a lot of barbers today don't want to do that part of the legwork because today's social media, they think everything is just you can put it on social media and everything's gonna happen right off the bat. It's tough. I think a lot of the barbers need to take a step back and think of the old school formulas of being a barber. I think it will help them jump right back 2 steps, 3 steps forward to help them realize it's a barbershop. It's a barber. You don't need to change barbering like most of these chains, most of these other people are trying to do. Back in the day, you just had a radio in the barbershop and you cut all day. So nowadays, they want you to have a big screen TVs all over the place and this and that and the other. But, I might be old fashioned and I'll stick to being old school, but the old fashioned way does it for me. And I think a lot of the barbers need to look at it that way.
Do you promote your barbershop? How do you get people to come in?
The one way that you promote your barbershop is by giving out good cuts. When you give out a good cut and that person leaves your shop and walks around with your haircut on him, people will ask them, who does your hair? That's how you promote your shop, giving out business cards. And then when those people come into your shop, you treat them like family. And when you do that, that's when people start to say, wow, I want to go experience that feeling in that shop. And it's a relationship that you get. And I mean, heck, I could have all the high-tech stuff in here, but if I'm not doing a good job, you're not going to come back.
Let's go back to you playing arena football and your college experience. Do you have any highlights that you'd like to talk about?
I mean, college was what it was. I mean, in college, I was really focused on finishing school, but I was also focusing on trying to get drafted, trying to get to the NFL. I was real determined to do that. So when I finished college and when I finished college, graduated, I started trying out for teams. They got kind of frustrating for a minute, but um, once I landed a spot on one of the arena football teams, I felt a lot better. But then it gave me a little more confidence to go forward and keep me on the right track. And then 10 years later after playing, uh, I was able to be inducted into the Arena Football Hall of Fame, and I was real happy about that. I mean, if anything, I have something to be happy and keep on my shoulders is being inducted into the Arena Hall of Fame, because I did a lot in the league, and I'm very proud of what I done. And sometimes words can't express how I feel about those guys I played in the league with, and the games that I had, good ones and bad ones, so but that all comes back to how I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, because I played hard, I made a good name for myself, and was a pretty good guy. So that's kind of what I would remember from both college and Arena Football League.
Can you tell me a little something about all these pictures? I notice in a lot of barbershops there's pictures hung up everywhere. What's the meaning behind them for you and your barbershop?
Well, the one thing I wanted to do was, when I decided to get a shop, was to put pictures in that the guys that I played with. So some of the pictures over there you'll see arena football guys that I played with or against that were my buddies, and then you have some that I coached when I was coaching in the Arena Football League. Then you have some where most of the local kids that have grown up in the neighborhood, some of the kids that have gone off to college, I've always said, you know what, if you go to college and you're doing something, I want to put them on the wall so that little kids that come in here see those pictures and say, hey, I want to do something good, so I can come back and put a picture on the wall if I have room for it. So that's basically the significance of most of the pictures on the wall, and when I ask those people to sign it. But most of them, I mean, a lot of them, I should say, I know personally, and that makes it a lot more to what you were bringing up before, personal. But it's just, memories that you can sit back and say, wow, I remember that, or I remember him. I wonder how they're doing. And it goes to conversation pieces. When a person sits in a chair, they'll look up and say, wow, look at that, and oh man, this and that and the other. Like, I have one up there that's, I could say it's real personable. Remember Steve McNair? He used to play with the Tennessee Titans, and he ended up getting killed. Well, I played with his brother, and they both from down there in that Mississippi area, and they both went to Alcorn. So I always say that to that. Then there's a couple guys that I met, and this is kind of a good story too. When I was at my old barbershop with a friend of mine, I used to drive up to Boulder sometime and cut some of the CU players' hair during the week. So that was a cool little deal. So that's kind of pretty much what the pictures stand for and what they mean.
I notice over on this side of the wall in your barbershop you have $1. Is there a meaning behind that?
Well, most of your businesses, that when you first start your own business, lots of times your first dollar made in your business, you want to just frame it, so it always make you remember, you got to keep on working so you can get some more dollars. So that's kind of that significance of that.
Great. As I'm looking at these pictures, I also wanted to ask, the Crush right here, were you coaching them?
Yeah, I was the year that when John and a group of from Stan Kroenke and Pat Boland, I guess they came together, those three groups, to bring arena team back to Colorado. So with that, when that happened, I was real fortunate enough to be on that team, being a coach. I was the special teams coach. And my good buddy, before I got the call, my good friend Lee Johnson, which is up there, he's number 70 in that one picture. He spoke to some of the representatives with the Crush to see if I would be able to coach, and I took the job. So I was real happy about that, and I was able to meet guys like Ahmad Hawkins, Saul Patu, Damon Bowers, just to name a few. And Bobby Pesavento was on that squad that year too. And it was nice to meet them guys because, like I said, you put yourself on the other side of the fence and you're the same guy that they are when you're coaching them. So, and it goes back to what we were talking about with the significance of what's on the wall. What I want to try to portray is that, you could do the same thing as this young kid comes in here from high school that's about to go off to college or even into the working world. It don't have to be sports. I know a lot of things in here relate sports, but lots of times it's about trying to teach some real life things, you got to go out and get a job. Relationship, you got to try to keep your relationship good. So that right there is pretty much the significance that I was trying to portray.
Thank you.